Welcome to the RubiesLV Podcast. We have a very, very special guest today with us. And with an applause of introduction, we want to welcome my husband, the one and only Joe Rivas.
Yay.
Cue the applause. That was your cue, sound girl.
Thank you.
We have to multitask around here.
Yes.
So I do appreciate that. Just bring the mic a little bit closer to your. There you go. Joe is the softer spoken one in the relationship.
Definitely the softer spoken one, yes.
Yes, I do appreciate you being here.
Yeah,
Live from Las Vegas.
Finally get to see me behind the camera or behind, not behind the scenes.
Yeah,
But
we get to see you in front of the camera.
In front of the camera this
there
time.
you go. I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
Joe, thank you for joining us at AVN year 2024.
Right? Yeah.
It was different this year, yeah? We were in a tent
It was quite different.
outside,
Quite different than previous years. Yes.
oddly enough, in a
Yes.
circus tent, it seemed like. But we don't have a sound effect for
Oh, we
that,
don't
so
have
I'm
that.
sorry.
That's okay.
Joe, we celebrate, 25 years this year of being together?
5 years, guys. Can you believe that?
And what is that old saying that I heard so many times? Can't turn a hoe into a housewife. How'd that work out for you, Joe?
Yeah, right? Well,
25
apparently-
years later.
Yeah, 25 years later, right?
I guess
Listen,
you can.
guys, Lord does miracles.
That was totally the Lord.
Hey, came to Sin City to get saved. Go figure.
And keep our relationship together.
Definitely.
2 kids later, biological, many kids
Oof.
spiritually adopted,
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
fostered a couple along the way.
That's another podcast.
That is a totally
That's
different
a
podcast.
Totally different podcast. I think we could talk about that now.
We could. We
Yeah.
totally can. But
Part 2.
yes, before we get there, let's talk a little bit about what has this been like for you? That is a saying that we heard so many times. You can't turn a hoe into a housewife. When you met me, I was working in the sex industry at a totally nude strip club in North Hollywood, California. You and I met at a regular dance club.
We did.
That was our generation,
Yeah.
like Studio 54
Yes.
type deal.
Yes.
And I just saw you and I was like, OMG. And that was a little scary to tell you eventually.
It was scary for you?
To tell you, yeah. I mean, a little bit. Like I was a
I
little
don't
bit of
know.
a jerk back then. So
Oh,
yeah.
totally a jerk. That's why.
Oh.
Yes.
Tell us how you really feel, Joe.
Oh, I mean, it was different, It's
I was different back then. Yes.
totally different.
The Lord has done wonders on me.
Oh, definitely.
But no, seriously, a lot of people think, okay, when you're looking for someone to marry, typically you're not looking for someone, that's involved in certain things. I mean, I was bad. Like I was working in the sex industry. I was doing drugs, partying every chance I had.
Yeah.
Right. And, we didn't know Jesus back then.
We didn't.
We did not grow up in Christian households.
We grew up Catholic, however.
Yes.
We
Very,
didn't have a relationship
very
with
different.
Christ.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very different.
Yeah.
Catholicism and Christianity.
Totally
Two
different.
totally different things. But what do you think? What do you think now about the fact that, oh my gosh, you did marry somebody that was from the sex industry, had a tremendous amount of trauma, and we've made a family, and then an even bigger extended family, right? Like,
Yeah.
what has this been for you? What has this been like for you? For you to really, be with someone that is from the industry?
it's one of those things that, you don't think about it, that when we were dating, I mean, you talk about, when we met and stuff like that. But so, you know, long story short, like, I didn't think that, I would never approach her. I didn't talk to her or anything, because she's, the individual, how she was then, and she's not like how she is now. And so, definitely, eh, when I thought that of a possibility of just being with you and stuff like that, it wasn't love at first sight. It wasn't love. It was more of a lust,
It was.
Let's
be honest.
Yeah, let's just be honest. It wasn't a love thing. It didn't click and didn't register in your head that, you're thinking
Long term.
No.
We were thinking in the moment.
Yes.
I think we were both thinking in the moment.
And it was just like I said, you were an eye candy.
Oh. Well, you're still my eye candy.
Well, yeah,
We don't have special sound effects for that.
No, we don't.
Insert little heart emojis floating everywhere.
Yes.
No, but I think that that's something that a lot of girls wonder when they're in the industry. Like, is somebody going to want to be with me long term? Is somebody going to be able to take me seriously? Are they going to be able to get over, my body count, what I've done, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's a lot to take in. I think there's a lot more normalization now.
There is, but you got to think about it, though. It was a little different then.
It was totally different.
You don't have all of this social media now. You don't have all of this being in the internet and stuff like that. So back then, you could easily hide things.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Do you think it would have been harder for you to be with me if we did date in the era of social media and the internet, and there would have been more of me plastered out there? Would that have been harder for you?
Definitely would have been harder for me.
Is that something you think that guys think about?
Yeah, definitely.
I think so too. That would be...
It's like I don't think somebody really wants somebody like to bring somebody like that to mom or something,
Yeah.
I think when it comes like that, not that
you want something a little bit more traditional.
Yeah, not that you can love somebody like that, I mean, but you
not
can't,
that you can't.
you're not
love
that
them.
you can't. But I'm just saying, you can't fix people. Like,
No.
they're gonna have to get, come to terms on their own.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, that's a really good point that you bring up, because while we were here at AVN, there's a lot of couples that work together in the industry. There's a lot of men that allow their wives to work in the industry, and they had booths together and they're posing for pictures. They're letting guys grab their wives and have them straddle them for these photos, and guys are grabbing their wives' butts for these photos. And what do you think about that? Do you think that that's something that you would be able to do?
Not at all.
Yeah. Because when we met, I was still working in the industry.
Yeah, even then,
you didn't like it.
I did not like that.
I know. I didn't foresee that lasting long.
I went to go see you one time at the club.
Yeah.
And that was it. For me, I was like, okay, we're done here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I didn't have means to get you out of there sooner, but then,
right. Yeah. I think early on in our relationship too, your personality was pretty passive. And the reality is, it was like you didn't like it, but you also didn't want to create any waves.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So I totally get it. But what do you think about that? I mean, I'm not a man, but for me, I just don't think I would feel comfortable, or
no,
I don't even think I could allow somebody to touch my wife.
I would.
I'm just where is the honoring of the fact that this is your wife and my body is yours now, and to have yeah these people kind of manhandling it.
I think it's something
right
simple.
in front of you.
It's very simple. I think.
What is it?
They don't have the Lord in them.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, right?
Yes. Listen. We live in a culture that all of this sexual, promiscuous, like it's just acceptable.
The
nowadays,
hypersexuality,
right?
being uber promiscuous, polyamorous.
Everything. Like,
we're gonna have an open relationship. We're gonna
like,
swap partners.
And even some Christians, that have not gone through, like what we've been through and stuff like that, or have lived a life, and like all of a sudden like want to get a taste of that freedom, and then wind up going through all of this stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, they think it's freedom.
They think it's freedom. But it's
not. A false advertisement from the pit of hell, you guys. You think you're like, oh my gosh, I want to have all this freedom, da 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 da, and then it's like, yeah,
you're going through this deconstruction mode, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, I'm
oh no, Joe said the D word.
Yeah, well,
he said deconstruction of Christianity. We've had quite a few friends that have deconstructed, and some of them have ventured off into the land of open marriages and polyamorousness and blah blah blah, which is
quite a few people that we've known. Yeah,
and where has that ended them up?
But listen, and we go back to that.
Not in a great spot.
We go back to that. What happened? Without airing,
anybody's information, but I mean, still, it's sad. It's not something that we enjoy watching happen. Like for us, we genuinely grieve.
It does. It really does grieve
this brokenness that has happened in these different people's lives that we know.
It's awful.
Divorce, confusion, anger, bitterness,
definitely
snowballing into other sin just because now they're trying to heal right from all that pain.
Well, I think it's an addiction, though. With any other addiction, we talk about addictions in previous podcasts, right?
Yeah.
And like, if you've ever been addicted to anything, whatever addiction it is like, it just escalates. You want the next, like, what's the next thing? What's your next thing to actually do and stuff like that, and it just escalates. But addiction never stops.
it's an insatiable appetite, and I think that that's a really good way for any demonic oppression to come in, is like, oh, well, just do this and this will fill that void for you. And then it's like, now that's no longer enough, so now you kind of have to move up to the next thing and the next thing. And so I always tell people it's an insatiable appetite, especially any type of sexual immorality. It's never enough, never ever enough. So with that being said, right, talking about what was it like kind of getting into a relationship with somebody that was in the industry, right? And then, but not just that. I mean, my own childhood trauma, and then you struggled with pornography for many years, right? Yeah. And you had your own trauma. And so do you think that maybe not having healing from that kind of made it easy for you to be with someone like me, where you were like, I'm jacked up, she's jacked up, like maybe she won't judge my stuff because she kind of has her own stuff going on? Do you think that made it like a little bit easier?
Well, now I look into the different perspective, right? As you to analyze like our lives the way, God intended it for us to be together, right?
Yeah. And the order of it.
Mm-hmm. Right? So back then, before being saved, of course, everybody wants to have that fetish, like, I'm dating a porn star. I mean, not a porn star.
I'm dating a stripper. I'm dating, an escort, whatever. I'm dating a webcam girl, whatever.
Yes. Yeah. Who doesn't want that as a guy, right? Come on, guys. But, and let's be real. I mean, everybody was like that, back then, and even still now, but I like,
it's not a prize.
It's not a prize. And then the thing is,
in that sense, right? Where it's like you're lugging this luggage and this oppression into the relationship of like what my work was,
And so, but what I don't get is that, okay, you wind up marrying a person like this, right? And then all of a sudden you want to carry out the same things.
Yeah.
But where's the sanctification of a marriage or a relationship? Like,
well, and I think there's a false expectation too, that you think, okay, I'm marrying this girl. She's out of the industry, but she was in the industry. So, you just naturally think, okay, she's going to, execute my expectations of what I've seen in these porn videos, what she portrays on the stage when she's working in the club. And it's like, no, dude.
It's a fantasy.
It's a total fantasy. It's a total facade.
You gotta kill the fantasy, guys. Kill
it's not real. It's not real.
If you ask some of these girls, when sometimes I go with Samantha into the strip clubs, and I always stay in the sidelines, and you might ask, why? What is he doing in the strip club?
He's security for me.
Yes, I'm always doing that. But so. The thing is that when I go, it's like, what do these girls say? It's like,
I'm not sleeping around. I'm not.
I gotta give these guys a lap dance. Like,
I
gotta go do this. Like, come on, guys. They are putting up a front for you guys. Like,
because they're trying to make their money.
They're trying to make that money. They're trying to get into your pockets. That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
They're hustlers, guys. Like this. Yeah. It's
you
a hustle
are
for
on
them.
that hustle. Yeah. Well, yeah, and you have to. I mean, who wants to schlep around on the floor and ask for? Do you want to dance with a crappy attitude? Like, no guy is going to be like, sure. No. Like, no, you gotta schmooze it on and be, just totally act. It's draining. It's annoying. And so, I think a lot of guys think like, oh, this is what I'm going to have in my home now. And it's like,
no, you don't. Like, it's a fantasy. Listen, no, I mean, but
and not to be crass, we're not saying that, our intimacy or our sex life is boring. It's not,
no.
But it's not boring because.
But it's a normal relationship.
Yes, we really have put God at the center of our marriage. And this level of intimacy and just a deeper connection than anything I've ever had in my life. Yeah. Like, I am so appreciative of where our marriage is right now because we've worked really hard. We've leaned really hard into God, right? Like literally holding on to the hem of his garment. And we have a lot of open dialogue.
Well, yes, we've, and that, I think that's important. I think it's
open conversations.
I think it's
about,
yes. I think, great point.
Yes.
I think, the open relationship, the uncomfortable
not the open relationship.
I mean,
open conversation.
Woo! Open conversation. Sorry,
we
guys.
just said we don't do that.
We don't do that.
Don't misspeak.
But the open dialogues that we have, with each other, and the communication.
What some might deem as an uncomfortable conversation.
Yes. Well, the thing is that
but it's important to have those.
It's important to have those because you have to. Your spouse, you got to keep in mind, guys. Your spouse is like. It's your best friend.
Yes.
It's you and your
we are a team.
Exactly.
We are a team and we have to work together. And just in any team setting, like, if you're on a team or if you're at work and you're on a team, everybody has to communicate for it to work smoothly. It's the same thing with your marriage.
You huddle, right?
Yeah.
And you
talk it out.
That's it.
Yeah.
So we have our little powwows. Like anybody, any other relationship, we talk about it.
But I think that all of those things together, and with Christ being at the foundation of our marriage, that has really given us the ability to now coming into our 25th year of being together. Mm-hmm. To me, that's success. So when people are like, how successful are you in what you do? I'm like, my gosh, I haven't OD'd. I'm not on drugs anymore. Like, my kids are pretty even keeled. They're not perfect, but they're pretty even keeled. And we're going into our 25th year of being together. Yes. Our marriage is really, really strong. To me, that is success. Like, I feel like, and at the forefront of all of that, I have Jesus. Definitely. So it's like, whether I died today or, another 50 years from now, I've already won. I already won. Like,
see, that deserves an applause.
See, thank you. I love it. Oh my gosh. Joe, one day we're going to be able to have a staff that can do that for us, and we don't have to multitask while we're
support
podcasting.
RubiesLV so that we have more people to do this for us.
Yes, we need your support so we can have at least 2 more people on staff. So, but okay, so now going from talking about our marriage, right, and being married to somebody that was formerly in the sex industry, right? What do you think about me being the mother of your children? Because that's like a whole other level too.
That's a whole other, well, kudos to you, honestly.
Oh, thank you.
Honestly, it's like, it's
this is like the best hyping I've ever had.
It's hard. You have to be my wife.
Yeah.
You have to be doing your wifely duties. You have to take care of their kids, make sure that our kids, are okay.
Yeah.
Take care of the house, guys.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, like doing 24/7 ministry.
Yeah.
It's
and
like,
all those children that fall in that ministry.
Yes. And then on top of that, it's like we have our adopted children.
Yeah.
It's like, it's tough. And you know what? It's like, and that's why, sometimes, when they ask us, it's like, how are you guys doing? It's like, man, we're tired.
Yeah. I know. I don't know how to answer when people ask me, how are you doing? Because it's like, do I tell them the truth and then have like a whole conversation about everything that's going on? Or do I just, do a little white lie and go, I'm good.
Yeah.
Because I can still slap that face on. Like when I used to walk the carpet, you just slap it on and you act like everything is good when it's really not. Like you really want to be there when you really don't. So,
we're going through those seasons.
Oh, yeah. And then we start speaking Christianese. Well, you said saved earlier, and people are probably like, for the non-believers watching the podcast, they're like Googling, what does it mean to be saved? I wonder what does pop up when it says, what does it mean to be saved? Anyways, for those of you that for our non-saints, right, that are watching, it just means when we accept Christ. Having a relationship with Jesus Christ.
Or born again.
Yes, born again. That's another Christianese word. Yeah.
So
you guys will hear us say those type of words from time to time. Yes. I mean, I don't knock them, but I knock them sometimes.
No, I mean,
it's... it is what it is.
The thing is that, we're around people that, we're in the world, but not of the world, right?
Yeah, yeah. And that's another Christianese saying.
No, but I'm just saying, like, it's...
They're like, what worlds are they in? Yeah, she just said she stopped doing drugs. So what world is she...
For our Christian viewers and listeners, it's, we're just being what Jesus called us to do, right? And the Bible it's like, it clearly states, it's like, when Jesus was out, with the prostitutes, the tax collectors, like he was out there. He wasn't
doing what they were doing, but he was among them. Yeah.
He was among them.
Well, yeah. So are you pretty happy with the fact that I am the mother of your children? I'm your wife, the mother of your children. You co-labor with me, running the ministry.
It's been exciting voyage. I'll tell you
I know.
Much.
Yeah, there's never a dull moment.
There's never a dull moment.
I know.
Never a dull moment with you.
We're always looking around. I think on a daily basis, and we're like, where are the cameras?
Yes.
Is somebody
Why
filming
don't we have
this?
cameras filming?
Because you can't make this stuff up.
We can't.
There's no cameras because we've been offered, and I have respectfully declined because I ain't about to look like the crazy train that y'all want to make me to look like. So we have respectfully declined from some pretty big production companies. So I don't know. Maybe one day, maybe not. It would be nice to have a lot of this stuff documented. Because
it would. Looking back into it,
It's like, oh my gosh, I just can't believe it. And I'm pretty transparent and brutally honest and a straight shooter. So, I mean, I don't mind people seeing the good, the bad, the ugly. Like, I mean, I think people would be shocked to know that I do cry probably on a daily basis.
Well, you know, I think I haven't shared openly, you know, and maybe my family's viewing or watching this or so whatever. You know, I've never actually said it in public or whatever, you know. But no, the thing is that, you know, si están viendo, no juzguen. Dios está haciendo una obra.
Oh, look at that.
You know,
Se habla español over here.
So I'm just saying.
I know. You know, can you imagine?
God is doing something great.
Your family must know by now, right?
Oh yeah, they must know. They must know. They just don't say anything, and they're like,
they're probably talking behind the scenes because you know us Latinos love to run their mouth.
We love the chisme, right? So
chisme is a sin though, because that's gossip. Just saying.
Matter. Everybody, all of y'all know.
No, I respect that because we've been so open about my testimony and my story. And we've done, you know, I've been on TV. We've done a reality docuseries. Like we've done different things. And so, I mean, it's out there. We have a whole website. With my story on plastered. It. So I'm sure they've seen it by now. Was that something that you were worried about?
It was.
You were worried about that?
Just for a second.
I mean... And you know what? Understandable. It's even if you said, yeah, totally.
No, I was. And I mean, it wasn't the shame or it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was just something like, what are they going to say?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, there's something, you know, that's something in me.
Yeah.
You know, that it's like, who cares?
Yeah. Good for you to be like, who cares? I've never had that.
You know, it's like, who cares?
Where I'm like,
it's like
worried about what other people think.
Exactly. Like,
I've never had that.
I can't worry about, you know, people talking or whatever, thinking it doesn't matter, guys.
Yeah.
You know, if you're happy with somebody in your relationship, you know, as long as you have Christ and you come together, you marry that person, you're happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we're good.
I appreciate that. I mean, somebody should care because I think I was polar extreme of not caring. I've never had that little button in me that's like, what are the people gonna say? You know, it's just never been my thing. However, now that I'm in a relationship with Jesus Christ, everything I go to say and do, I'm like, is this really pleasing to the Lord? Not because I feel like I have to perform or be a certain way, but just because I'm grateful for everything that God has done in our lives. And I don't want to do anything that grieves his heart because I feel like I did so much already that grieved his heart that I'm just like, let's think about this really quick before I say it or do it, you know? But for the most part, it never goes through my head where I'm like, what are the people going to say? Because I don't care what the people say.
Doesn't matter.
In case you haven't figured it out.
Yeah.
I probably should have a little bit of that, but I don't know. Maybe you could pray for that for me.
Yeah. For this Christian watching, pray for us.
Yeah, pray for Samantha to care sometimes about what the people are going to say. I just feel like it's important. I remember one time we had a pastor friend. We were having some random conversation. Something happened in the room where somebody said something like way out of pocket. And I just said what everybody else was thinking in the room. And he was like, Samantha, he was like, I love you because you always say what everybody else in the room is thinking, but doesn't have the courage to say it. And so, you know what? I mean, love it, like it, indifferent, whatever. Like, this is what it is. I don't know what else to say or do. I think because too, like a lot of when I was in the industry back then, you didn't share with everybody.
You know, like what you're saying, you're cut from a different cloth.
I was cut from a different cloth. It's not my saying. It's actually from a Bible scripture. I'm going to have to look that up.
Actually, it is.
It is. I really was cut from a different cloth.
Totally.
I don't know what type of material that was, but it was definitely a different kind of cloth. So, you know, it is what it is. But yeah. So anyways, well, Is there anything else that you want to share with the kind folks out there? This won't be the last time.
It will not be the last time.
This was a lot. This was like, how
lot.
many
listen,
AVNs have you been to now with us?
This is the 4th.
And as somebody that was let's not leave them halfway. They're going to be like, yeah, I was going to cut it off right here. But I'm like, you know what? Okay. They're going to be like, wait a minute. He was addicted to porn. He's going in with her. Yeah. Their context. Sorry. Context is king.
Yes.
Like, let's provide the context for that. Because they're going to be like, wait a minute, my guy. You go in the strip clubs with her and you go to the porn convention.
Yes.
I have something to say about that.
I don't recommend that for any of you guys that are struggling with any type of sexual sin or pornography or have, some sort of tendencies or thinking about it or that sparks a curiosity.
Oh, they're gonna email you, Joe, and they're gonna be like, God's calling me to go in with you.
Hey, no. I'm sorry. Listen.
I heard the Lord told me to email Joe at RubiesLV and tell him that I need to go in with him the next time he goes to the next strip club or the next,
I remember
Blade Outreach or AVN.
I remember asking my group sometimes, or I don't know if you remember back in the days, like,
oh, your men's Bible study that you used to go to?
Well, remember.
What did they say to you? Did they were judgy, yeah?
Well, it was different. It was like I remember asking, for support or security. Remember, and like nobody wanted to do it.
Oh yeah, didn't we ask like a whole church? We asked them to send out an email to their volunteers.
Can anybody volunteer?
And staff. And what we heard was there is. Hold on.
Yes, it is.
That's what you got in response.
So anyway, yes. It was a silence, right? And
makes sense.
It makes
sense because
so listen,
don't put yourself in a situation.
Yourself, and then that's what I'm saying. Look, if you struggle with something, and guys, the people in the church, it's like the majority of people in the church struggle with some sexual sin.
Say it, preach it.
So.
Say it louder for the people in the back.
I get it, guys. You struggle with a sexual sin. You're trying to hold that back.
Man, the data.
Not to expose that.
Yeah. But the data on that is pretty dang high, unfortunately. The percentage of men that struggle with sexual sin within the body of Christ sucks.
So listen, I struggled with it for many years. I've never shared my story with anybody, soon I probably will, whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be today.
Doesn't have to be today. However, so I struggled with it. I was, addicted to pornography at a very young age.
Yep, because you were exposed to it.
Because I was exposed to it as a child. It as a child being exposed, and that's my sexual trauma. That trauma that I had. And we talk about trauma, constantly, right?
Yeah.
But as to what does that trauma really actually do to an individual, years later? And
because it's unprocessed.
It's unprocessed.
It's not healed.
And us Latinos, that's like what do we like to do is just bury it.
Joe is really stacking on the stereotypes now.
Well, it's
the
not
men
only
in church that are struggling with sexual morality,
Latinos on top of
that don't talk about trauma.
And it's not even Latinos itself.
I don't even think there's a word for therapy in Spanish.
Yeah. Terapia.
That's how much we don't talk about it. That we ain't even got a word for it in Spanish. So
listen, so we don't. I didn't know I had that. And obviously, when we got married, I had to talk to my wife about this stuff.
Yeah.
What is it that I struggle with? My struggles and thank God that my wife understood me.
Yeah.
Right? You understood me.
No, I genuinely felt bad for you.
I felt like I needed to talk to somebody. I needed somebody to just talk to about that.
And help you process and guide you through that process. Yeah.
And so that was a point in my life where, I felt embarrassed. I felt ashamed. and I needed to process that, but that took years.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that took years. Like we've been together for so many longs, and how many AVNs have you had?
10.
Okay, see, and I've only gone to 4 guys.
Yeah.
So,
so don't email Joe. Tell him you were called because there's been a process.
Guys.
Yes.
Even when she approached me, and when you approached me, you remember?
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, what do you think of doing security? Like,
because I didn't have any.
I don't want to have any. And I'm
I hated to put you in that position, but I was like, I trust you. I trust you with my life. And then I trust you, you know, within our marriage and my emotions and my feelings, right? Like, yeah, I didn't know what that was going to do, you know? And then Joe, oh my gosh, we go in there and we see performers who you consumed
oh my gosh,
their product. And so
it is crazy. Yeah. So listen, that was the second year.
I mean, yeah, but it's just happened in general. So I'm saying, like, I say that to show people, like, okay, we processed a lot of trauma. We talked through it.
Yes.
We had very open dialogue. We prayed and asked God.
Prayer was a big thing because
should we be doing this?
Because I prayed, like, you know, beforehand, and I'm like, listen, I hate it when you know, in the Christian realm, it's like, oh, let me pray about it. No, this
that's the Christian answer.
Yeah,
that's the Christian nice answer for no.
Yes. So, but I really did need to pray about this.
Did.
Because
we
this
both
was
did.
Yes, we both did, right?
Yeah.
So
but ultimately, God had to tell you, like, yes,
I didn't want to be put in a position where I was gonna backpedal, or like I was gonna be like triggered again to like fiend that, you know.
And when you say backpedal, you mean like backslide?
Yeah, like backsliding. Yeah. You know. So
in your Christian walk.
Yes, but you know what? God is big, because honestly, it's like I went in there and I just had a purpose, you know.
Yeah.
I went in there, you know, just guarding, because guys, the oppression that comes when in these places, when you walk in,
it's thick.
I've never seen it. I've never seen it as thick though as I saw it today. You know, or coming in this AVN 2024.
Oh my gosh, you should have been here yesterday. Yesterday was like way worse.
Yeah. So, you know, it and I think it's because mainly
it's getting worse.
It's getting a lot worse. We're coming
the type of fantasies, the type of fetishes.
Oh my gosh,
the addiction. It's like their energy is like, it's like they're vibrating, these guys. Like they're just like, oh, I can't get enough. Like
you could totally just see these guys like just jumping out of their flesh.
Yeah, literally and spiritually.
Oh my gosh,
it stinks.
But yes,
but thank you for clearing that up, because that would have not been great, because they would have been like, what the hell? Like he, you know,
I had a process before.
And I understand that, because for those of you that don't know my story, when I worked in the sex industry and before that, I lived a lifestyle of homosexuality. So I dated both men and women. And so I understand what that looks like and what that feels like when you see a beautiful woman and it's like you're just instantly in lust.
Yes.
You know, I've shared a couple of times. I used to be the executive assistant for Annie Lobert from Hookers for Jesus, right? Still a very close family friend. We co-labor side by side with our two ministries. And I remember when she asked me to go out on my first outreach with her, and she was just like, we're going to give gift bags to these girls, Sammy, and it's going to be great. And I just kept thinking, I just like found Jesus. Like, I don't want to lose that I'm going to mess this up. Like, and I had to be very open and honest with her, which Annie makes it so super easy to like be transparent with her, right? Because she's like a personal cheerleader and just super encouraging, right? And so what I had to tell her, I'm like, Annie, I cannot go out with you. I struggle with liking women. Like I was a baby Christian, right? And so I was just like, how do I get rid of this? Like, I don't know how this is going to go. Right. And she was like, Sammy, let's just pray and watch what God does. And I was like, this woman is crazy. Like, I don't know what Jesus Kool-Aid she was drinking, but
it's definitely a calling, it's a calling that God actually puts in your life. Like,
but we prayed.
We do pray.
We prayed about it,
Yes.
right? And then I went on that outreach with her, and I like literally was clutching on to Jesus. Like, I was like, please don't let me mess this up. I don't want to lose you. And for the first time ever, and since that day, never again did I ever look at a woman and view her in a lustful manner. Like, I just didn't.
Yeah. Well,
like, I see them through the lens of Jesus.
Jesus, right? Yeah.
And I know that for you, you've said the same thing too. You're like, I see these women through the lens of Jesus. And that is so far more important than our flesh.
Yes.
Whatever the enemy's trying to stick in our heads. Like, it's so much more powerful than any of that.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think I was so understanding when Joe was sharing with me, like, his struggles with addiction to porn and all that stuff. And I mean, one AVN you shared.
Yes, because it's
as I was getting ready to go out. And just for you guys to have a little bit of context, before I get ready to go out to AVN, I mean, I'm praying in my head. Sometimes I listen to worship music. Sometimes I start crying because I already know what I'm going to walk into. Yeah. It grieves my heart, like, beyond anything that I can articulate. Like, it's just so much. And then I'm getting ready, I'm putting my makeup on, and Joe's like, I need to talk to you about something. And I was like, what? And then he starts telling me that, he talks to me about his childhood trauma, and then talks to me about what it was like being addicted to porn. Yeah. And this was way before he had ever even gone out with me to any outreaches. Yeah. And so I just looked at him and I was like, I can't have this conversation with you right now because I'm already broken, and I feel bad for you. Like, I'm broken now hearing what you've had to go through and struggle with. Like, it sucks. Like, it doesn't feel good. And so that's why I was like, can we pick this conversation back up? Like, 3 days from now, because AVN, for those of you that don't know, it's 4 days here in Las Vegas. And so I was just like, can we pick this up like later on? Because I just can't. But we had really good conversations from that. And again, like, understanding like what that feels like, because I shared some of those same struggles. And I totally get it. Like, I sympathized and I empathized. And so,
well, it was a good experience for me though. Because it was kind of a full circle moment, you kind of touched on it, that, I saw some of the performers that actually that I used to watch, like, and I was like,
and then for Joe to pull me off to the side and be like, hey, I just want you to know, like, I used to buy her stuff.
I never purchased anything.
Well,
but
you didn't buy it, but you used to watch it.
I used to watch
it. So
as a child.
Yeah. But for you to be open and honest and be like, hey, this is somebody that I watched. This is somebody that I was addicted to. I just want you to know, And then to be able to pray for them, like, off to the side on our own, and to pray for you. Like, I think it's so important in a marriage to be able to be transparent like that, because the reality is,
I was transparent with you. It's like, you ran into one, just, little.
We were in an elevator.
We were in an elevator, and
enclosed
elevators,
in what seemed like the longest elevator ride going down.
The doors open in the elevator,
and there she was,
and my face was like,
and then he just looked down the whole time. Oddly enough, she was with her makeup artist.
Yes.
And it was a childhood friend of mine, because I'm a makeup artist by trade. And I just said the guy's name. I was like, so-and-so. And he was like,
the way the Lord works is just so crazy.
And I hadn't seen him.
I know.
For like years. The last time I had seen him, his mom had just died from cancer.
I know.
And he automatically, that is what clicked in his head. And so we hugged, and he was crying.
Yes.
And so then we got to go off to the side. He excused himself from her, said he would catch up with her later on. And we sat there and we talked, like, and then, you had to, were like,
that was a full circle moment for me.
Yeah.
Like, that was when I really understood and knew then that, God had really done something in my life.
Yeah.
Because I didn't see her anymore like I used to see her.
Yeah.
I saw her through the lens of Jesus and through somebody that needs of a savior.
Yeah, totally. And I still pray for her to this day.
Yes,
we saw her this week.
This week we saw her during
We gave
dinner.
her a gift bag, saw her during dinner. Totally. So, Joe, not to drag this out because this has been a really good conversation. And we're already at
to do part 2 on
5 minutes past the hour.
Yes.
But I just want to thank you so much for coming on. You look great.
Thank you.
You smell great.
Thank you.
You just look beyond a snack. You look like a 5-course dinner,
Oh.
I love you.
You're not too shabby yourself.
Oh, thank you. Everybody get out of the room.
Okay.
Thank you guys so much for watching us on the RubiesLV Podcast live from AVN 2024. You guys are going to have to stay tuned for another interview, part 2. There's going to be many.
Oh, there's going to be quite a few.
I love you.
Love you too, dear.
Thank you, babe.
I love you.